So, Maureen Megan pays my rent Callahan. It seems she has been on Megan's case for a while. I've only just begun to notice her, but it seems she has been on Megan's case for quite a while. And I'm trying to analyze like what's really her beef against Megan because there's a deep beef. And she, here's this thing she wrote in 2022 where she says, like, Meghan is still throwing tantrums about the royal family. I haven't heard Meghan mention the word royal family or any name of any member of the royal family since the Oprah interview. I don't know about you guys, but it seems to me that anytime I've seen Meghan, she is living her new life. And that includes her California people, California places, California projects. She has been working on her company as ever, her YouTube, her Netflix show with Love Megan. She's been doing magazine interviews and also interviews with publications like Fortune magazine and so on and so forth. She's been attending galas and birthday parties and awards. At no time, she's gone hiking, she's gone on trips to Nigeria, to South America, and even she's gone down to the Caribbean one time for a film, a film preview, etc. At no time since about 2020 or so has she ever said the word Kate or William or King Charles or Camilla or anybody in the royal family. Do correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, people like MAUREEN Meghan-pays-my-rent Callahan keep writing all of these articles for which they are paid, keep doing all these YouTube videos, every single day on YouTube about Meghan, saying that Meghan is throwing a tantrum about the royal family, but it seems that it's MAUREEN Meghan-pays-my-rent Callahan who's always throwing a tantrum about Meghan. And then she projects this onto Meghan, which just doesn't make any sense. Is she completely devoid of self-reflection? Or is she just being diabolical on purpose? She's the one constantly throwing tantrums about everything Meghan has done. I don't think I have ever heard Meghan even say the name Maureen Callahan or Maureen Meghan pays my rent Callahan, to be more precise. But yet Maureen continues to pay her rent by exploiting Meghan, by trolling Meghan, and by abusing Meghan journalistically, quote unquote, and that's in a very, very tight quote, on a daily basis. Right? I don't understand it. You want to say it's because Meghan is black, but I don't think it's that. I think it's the opposite. I think it's because Meghan is white. She's too white. She's 50 something percent white and 40 something percent black, and it is clear from her physical appearance that she has taken a little bit more, maybe a lot more, from her European gene pool than from her African gene pool. And certainly her children are almost completely they look completely European genetically, right? I think that is at the root of people like Maureen Callahan's beef, strangely enough. All this time we've been thinking it's because Meghan is black and they hate her because she's black. No, they hate her because she's not sufficiently what they, be very clear what I'm saying here, what they would consider their inferior, right? If she were, dark skinned, like say someone like myself, and with the traditional kinky African hair or something like that, someone like Maureen would probably like her very, very much, or at least pretend to, because she would sort of feel this sense of, rightly or wrongly, superiority to this, very genetically African princess. She would probably say something completely different in different circles, but certainly publicly she would pretend that, it's like the woman on, let's say that it was, is it Nanua or Nana, whatever her name is, on one of these talk shows, who hates Meghan even more than Maureen Meghan Pays My Rent Callahan does. If it was somebody like that, and Meghan comes in the wigs and just looking a fright on a daily basis, you would find that people like Maureen would like her very much, quote unquote, right? Because she would consider this woman to be a complete non-threat. Whether that's right or wrong, I don't make the rules. I don't make how some people perceive themselves in relation to others. I have only observed it, right? And I think that Meghan has so gone out of the boundaries in terms of, if you're a kid coloring, you color inside the lines. Whoever put her genetic pool together and her, just put Meghan together, went out of the lines completely. And so you end up with this person who Maureen finds very threatening, because she cannot be pitied, and she cannot be sort of like talked down to and looked down upon nose-wise, the way that she could somebody else who was configured differently ethnically and DNA-wise in a society and world which to a large part still recognizes these kinds of ethnic differences and features in humans on the planet. Whether we want to admit that to be true or not is up to us individually, but that's my observation of life on this planet. And so, ironically, it's not because Meghan is black, it's because Meghan is not black enough. She's too, no, well, that's not even it. It's that Meghan is too white. Let's just say it. Meghan is too white, even though she isn't. I mean, I can totally see how that would like rattle people when I say something like that. But if you really think about it, that's itself a phenomenon, right? And I think Megan has alluded to something like that when she was in school, where, where does she fit? She always didn't know which box to check. The teacher once told her just check the white box, but she didn't want to do this because of her mom. And it's just something that's followed her, and it has to do with how she looks physically, the way that her genetics were put together when she was formed. And I think just the way that she therefore lived, she lived her life, I think, more as a white woman than a black woman. I mean, she is a black woman by society's metrics, but in reality, the way she looks and the way she has lived and who most of her friends are and the places she goes to, I mean, these are very quote unquote white things. This rattles people like Maureen because she can't easily dismiss Meghan, disdain Meghan, look down her nose at Meghan, think she's better than Meghan, think she's superior to Meghan, etc. Because everything that Maureen, Meghan Pays My Rent Callahan has, physically or otherwise, Meghan has even better, right? Meghan can fit in with all these coded conversations about her self tanning creams and her Kerastase hair products and her Soho House dinners and so on and so forth. And she just knows the conversations that these people have, and she can hold these conversations. She knows the places they go, and she can go in and maneuver herself equally as confidently as anybody else. So it's very hard for someone like Maureen to really measure. Maureen can't measure up to Meghan. And so she feels that, and not just her, that Meghan, it thinks that she's white when she's not. It's like, and this is a phenomenon in society, not just among black and white people, just everybody, where there's a certain way you're supposed to be if you're white and a certain way you're supposed to be if you're black, which is just completely stupid from my vantage point, but it happens. So she thinks he's white, she thinks she's black, it's a totally ridiculous conversation, but it's one that is very, very real and it has very real implications. And so for someone like Meghan, it's not that they hate her because she's black, it's that they hate her because she's too white. Now that too white thing is an even more explosive concept than her being black. You're too white is a more explosive concept than her being black because, again, if she were black and looked black, as that is traditionally understood in this world society, the global society, it would be easier to categorize her, pigeonhole her, and even disdain her while pretending to like her. It's a very complex thing versus this other person that Meghan is, who has been in places where Maureen, Meghan pays my rent Callahan has never been, walked in certain circles that Maureen, Meghan pays my rent Callahan has not walked in, speaks a certain language, carries herself a certain way, writes a certain way, lives a certain way. This is the resentment. It's not the hatred of her because she is black. It's because they quote unquote feel that Meghan should be blacker. She should be blacker, whatever that means in their minds. Because, I don't necessarily share this opinion, but I have observed the phenomenon myself. And yeah, I think that's why Maureen Meghan pays my rent Callahan resents the Duchess of Sussex. Anyway, so she keeps saying that Meghan is throwing all these tantrums about the royal family, but I see no evidence of this at all. I have not heard Meghan mention anybody or anything having to do with the royal family since she left England. She sued one of those papers. She didn't even speak publicly about it after that. Her sister sued her. She didn't speak publicly about any of it after that. She's been in her home in Montecito, raising her children, taking care of her husband, taking care of her home, taking care of her business. She hasn't said anything about the royal family. So this tantrum is in Maureen Meghan pays my rent the hands cotton picking mind. Let me know what you think about this in the comments. See you in the next one. Take care. Bye.